broadcasting the best of retro and modern gaming, with your hosts, the incomparable Dinky Dana, and myself, John Pio of MAMECADE. Welcome to Hit Reset Radio. Hello, and thanks for tuning in with us. Today is September 18th, and this is lucky episode number 13. We just had a Friday the 13th a few days ago. Dinky, are you a superstitious person?
That's funny you mentioned that. I was supposed to have jury duty on Friday the 13th. Yeah, and luckily I didn't have to get called in for any trial. I was dreading going in thinking, oh boy, I'm going to get some crazy murder rap case or something on Friday the 13th. But no, in general, I'm not too superstitious.
I used to be very superstitious when I was a young man. Now, not so much, but when I was younger, if there was a cat in the street, I'd wait for it to be long gone before I crossed.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's all those things that, you watch cartoons as a kid, the black cat, the walking under the ladder, the breaking the mirror, it feeds into your young mind. But as you get older, you get over it.
Yeah, I did just walk under a ladder. That's funny because a week ago or someone was doing something and I actually walked under a ladder and I was like, oh, crap.
Did you for a second, did you actually think,
for a second,
should I do this?
And I was like, oh man, maybe I should go around, but they were doing work, so.
All right, so you walked
I'll just go under.
Did anything bad happen to you that day at all?
Nope. No.
It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I'd like to start out say happy birthday to you.
Wow, thank you. I just had a birthday on the 14th a couple of days ago, and I am an older man now. I'm really old. Holy crap.
Do anything fun?
Yeah, no, I had a nice meal with my family, and we went out to, what's that steakhouse? Longhorn.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's so much better than Outback.
Is that the one where they put all the peanuts on the floor?
What?
Is that the steakhouse where they put all the peanuts on the floor, like people eat peanuts and you just throw the shells on the floor?
Dude, I have no idea what you're talking about. There were no peanut shells on the floor.
There's definitely, I thought it was that place.
No.
There must be another steakhouse.
Well, figure it out because I want to make sure I don't ever go to that one.
No, it's well, yeah, I guess it might be a little bit weird, but it's a chain. It's across the whole U.S. and it's a place where you just go in and like as an appetizer before the server gets to you. There's just a big bucket of peanuts, and you just eat them, and you can throw the shells on the floor, and they clean them up.
Oh my God! I never heard of such a place. That's insane.
I'm sure some of our listeners, someone please mention that they've heard of it, so I don't know.
Yeah, you please. I need to make sure I never go to this place. Yeah. No, this is a nice. It's a kind of a Western theme. There's big bulls and longhorn steers on the wall. Very Texas kind of themes. Very, very cool. Which is kind of better than an Australian Outback theme for steak. I don't get that. That's weird.
You know what? I just looked it up. Where'd you say you went to Longhorn Steakhouse?
Longhorn, yeah.
That was the place. They used to do that, and it says here that they just stopped doing that.
Oh, I wonder why.
It looks like it's an allergy issue.
People were dropping dead on the floor at their entrance. That's not a good thing.
Well, hey, at least I'm not crazy. I knew there was a place like that, and I thought that was where it was. So,
oh my God, I've never been there where they're just dropping peanut shells.
Here's another ad in the Google. The third thing says we don't do creepy.
Good Lord.
So yeah, I guess that's a weird tradition that they.
Oh, well, it was a really good meal. I mean, besides the fact that my kids driving me nuts at the meal, throwing their crayons, into the other booth and all that stuff. But the steak was really good. I enjoyed it. It was really nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it, dude.
Yep. So, what else you been up to?
Well, let's see. Today is the 18th, right? And Apple has just released iOS 7. And I've just downloaded it a couple of hours ago. It got released about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but I had no luck trying to log in. It was not log in, but trying to download it. It wouldn't let me. It kept crashing. I guess everybody in the world was trying to download it. So I downloaded it, and it is incredibly weird because the old iOS has been around since 2007 pretty much, and it hasn't changed much. And now it's a very weird screen. It's very flat. All the icons are flat, whereas the old days they were kind of bubble-ish, or they looked like they were bubbled with reflections on them. It's weird. What's good about it is a quick slide of your finger from the bottom brings up a control panel that handles all the most common features, like putting your phone on airplane mode, handling your Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth. Is a button that you can actually use that activates a flashlight. So all you people that have downloaded apps for flashlights like I did that use the cameras, yeah, you don't have to do that now. They put that in there. The calculator, the camera, the brightness of the screen. So all the common things are now all put together into one quick flick of the finger, which is good. I haven't really explored much more. It's just kind of weird looking, and I guess in a day or two I'll get used to the look of it. I hear good things about it, so we'll see. To be continued, I guess.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know. With my phone, I resist updating everything. I don't know why. It's just I figure something's gonna go wrong if I do that. So I always wait a little bit and then do my upgrades.
I'm cursed. I always say wait, wait, wait. I'm one of those early adopters that always jump in first, and then I get burned. You know, be it a new game, be it the Atari Jaguar or whatever. I always get burned. So I told my wife not to update until she looked at mine and thought that she liked it, and then if she wants it, then she'll update.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing. How about you? What'd you do this past couple of days?
Oh man, as you know, and I've been mentioning a ton on my Facebook and Twitter, I went down to Dragon Con.
I hate you. I hate you.
See, the funny thing about this is I had no idea what Dragon Con was. And I'm sure a lot of the people listening probably don't either. But my friend came over and we were going out to the bar and having a couple drinks and stuff. And before we were doing that, he said he wanted to show me this video of Dragon Con, and I had no idea what it was. It was about 3 weeks before the convention. So he shows me the video, and the place looked like a blast. So that during that week, I was thinking about taking a vacation anyways, and I took a week off, and we went down there. This place is unreal. I haven't gone to a ton of conventions. I've gone to some gaming ones, but never really where people dress up. And this thing is basically all about cosplay and people dressing up as characters. Yeah. And it was insane. Like, you've seen videos of it and stuff before, right?
Yeah, because I've always wanted to go. In fact, I have family down in Georgia that I can spend time with 20 minutes away from Atlanta that I can get to. But every time I want to go, every year, there's something coming up in my life that prevents me from going. So when I heard you were going, oh man, I was seething. I was like, oh, son of a gun. I want to be there with you so bad.
Well, next, I'm pretty sure my two friends, I went with Fat Kelly, my cousin, my other friend, and right after, my cousin called me up after we got back home, and he's like, we should book tickets for that for next year already. I mean, it was so much fun. So we're almost definitely going to go again next year, and if I go down, you should definitely take the trip down there.
I want to go. So you did a road trip, right? You drove down there.
Yeah, it's nice because from Pittsburgh down to Atlanta, it's about it would be about an 11-hour drive, 10 and a half to 11. And my cousin lives in Louisville, Kentucky. So what I did is I took a trip from Pittsburgh to there, which is 6 hours, and then it was 6 hours again the next morning to Atlanta. So we kind of broke it up, and it was real nice.
Well, the drive's got to be fun. Road trips are always fun with friends.
Yeah, and I actually put up a cool video on our trip back from there. We went down we got there Friday at about 8 p.m. and then we stayed until we left it like Monday at 1 or 2. And my cousin had to work on Tuesday, so we had to get back to Louisville real quickly. But after that, we stayed over his place for the night, and then the next day, my friend Rich and I went from Louisville to Pittsburgh, and we used my locator and just went to all kinds of random game stores. And it was funny because the people in the city of Cincinnati just kept leading us to more and more game stores. So we went to like 3 in a row just from the recommendations of the people who told us to, where to go. We ran into all kinds of cool game stores. You saw the one with that huge arcade.
I watched your videos on the road trip, and you used your locator. And for anybody who hasn't done it yet, go to Dinky Dana's website, the game locator, to find old games and consoles and all kinds of stuff that you want to buy and collect. And I saw this video that he walked into this arcade combination video game retro place. It was insane. That was a great place. What state was that?
That was in Cincinnati, Ohio. In the game,
It's
the place was
insane.
called Arcade Legacy, and in the video, it's funny because that wasn't my locator, but it wasn't the one that we were planning on going to. So I went to one game store and it was closed down, or it wasn't closed down. They just weren't open during the week. So my buddy and I was like, I'm gonna go next door and went into this Cricket store, and was like, hey, are there any game stores around here? Or did something close down? And he pointed us to some place, so we drove over to that place.
Wait, hold on. There was a Cricket store in Ohio?
Yeah, just a phone store. Yeah, the Cricket phone company.
Oh, I thought you meant cricket the sport, like the British sport of
No,
cricket.
no. Yeah, there was a
What the hell are you talking about, dude?
no, it was just a
Cricket.
regular cricket place. And the guy pointed us to some mall, so we went to that store, and their prices were a little high. And the guy in there, without us even asking, he said, "Are you into retro games?" And I said, "Heck yeah, I'm into retro games. That's what I'm looking for." So he pointed us over to this Arcade Legacy, and this place, it was honestly the best video game store I think I've ever been in. I found out afterwards that it's owned by somebody, one of the members of Nintendo Age. He's on a big contributor to the Nintendo Age website. If you guys haven't ever heard of that site, they have all kinds of stuff. It's a really good place to find those super rare Nintendo games, like the prototypes and things like that. I walk into this place, and the first thing that I see is Mega Man for the IBM in Tandy.
Holy cow, that's old.
Yeah, so I was like, I didn't even know what it was. Ended up buying that for $20, which I looked up on eBay. That there was one that just sold in worse condition than mine for $300 on eBay.
You gonna flip it?
No, I'm gonna keep it.
Good
I keep
man.
everything.
Good man. Good man.
But,
Good man.
and then,
A true collector, spoken like a true collector.
and then I got the Shadow of the Colossus soundtrack for the import. So that's one of my favorite games. But the thing about this place is I walk around and it's an actual arcade. You pay $10 for the entire day. So you just, there are all these arcade machines inside there are set to free play. So you pay $10, go in, play any games you want. They probably had 60 arcade machines in there. They had the Ninja Turtles, the X-Men. So we go into this game store and they have all the arcade machines that, I mean, some of the classics that I've always known growing up, you know?
I'm so jealous. Not jealous, envious. I wish I could have been there. Oh.
Yeah, it's almost to the point. I mean, it's like the arcades that I used to go into, you know? It's just going into a place like that now is incredible because they don't exist.
Yeah, it's true.
It would almost be worth a trip, like a 3 to 4 hour trip for me to go back there. But, yeah, so that was a lot of fun. A little off topic of our Dragon Con trip, but
Well, I saw the photos of the Dragon Con trip that you took. Those photos are, some of them are a little risque with those cosplay girls.
oh, I know. We go down there, okay. I had no idea what to expect. I've never worn any costumes. I've never dressed up as characters other than like normal Halloween stuff. Never been to a convention like that. And we were looking up the videos and we were like, we have to do something. But I only had 2 weeks. So I was like, what kind of character can I do that doesn't really require a costume? So I thought of Nathan Drake because he just basically wears regular clothes.
Yeah, well, sort of.
Yeah, he has like, I mean, everybody knows.
Adventurer gear, yeah, comfortable.
So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put that together, and I wasn't gonna get anything really for it. And I was out at the flea market, and I picked up these prop guns. I got this assault rifle, water gun, like a squirt gun.
Yeah, I noticed the little orange cap on your gun. That was
Yeah,
good.
and I ran into all these different things that just ended up working for the costume, and like the shoulder harness and everything.
Now your costume looked really good. You looked good. It was, I saw it, I knew exactly it was Nathan Drake without, even...
Yeah, that's pretty much all I was going for. I was like, I'm not gonna have time to do anything crazy, but as long as people know who I am, I'm cool with that. And then
a lot of cool photos.
My other friend dressed up as Luffy. He's the Chinese guy in the hat, the straw hat. And he went as Luffy, which is one of our favorite anime series, One Piece. So that was a really cool character. And then I'm sure you saw my cousin, Fat Kelly, wearing the Winnie the Pooh. So now at least you know what my cousin looks like, right?
Yeah, Fat Kelly. I know who he is. He doesn't look very fat to me, though.
No, he doesn't look fat at all. He doesn't look like a girl either.
Where did they get the Fat Kelly from? Where does that come from?
Oh, we laugh about this all the time. My friend Mike, the guy that sends me stuff from Japan all the time, he him and his other friend used to know this girl, and they nicknamed her Fat Kelly.
Oh, it's one of those like those weird Dinky Dana kind of stories where you're nicknamed after girls. Oh man.
Well, we were just because normally up at college, we were drinking a good bit, so that's where half of our nicknames came from. So he ended up doing Fat Kelly just on the Nintendo Wii, I think it was. He just named a character Fat Kelly and left it. So yeah, we go on to Xbox and everyone thinks that we're girls, and then we talk. But yeah, so he's wearing the Winnie the Pooh, and the only reason he had that is because he was gonna just go as Sully because he didn't have a costume, and then I figured I'd bring the Winnie the Pooh down, and I'll tell you what, his costume was the most popular by far. He had so many people coming up asking for pictures. There was this little girl. She was probably 10 to 12 years old, and she came up and was so excited to see him and said, "Thank you for wearing a costume. All these other characters are so scary and everything." And this is the first nice one she saw.
Ah, that's cool.
That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Like some of my favorite pictures. You see that Cloud sword from Final Fantasy?
Yes, they're all awesome.
Yeah, there's that Cammy from Street Fighter. She had an awesome costume.
Yeah, there were a couple of sexy costumes, I gotta say. Really, I mean, because it's warm in Atlanta, you can get away with that. I'm in New York, and the New York Comic Con takes place in October.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to get to it, but they do give you a dressing room downstairs that the women could change and put on whatever they want to put on, which is kind of cool.
See, I was surprised. They basically had no rules down here. I mean, I didn't see anyone enforcing anything. Basically they use 5 hotels, the 5 big hotels in Atlanta. And that's where the convention goes on. So you want to stay in a hotel that's part of the convention. And all you have to do is show your badge that you paid, but they don't check anything at all. And basically, in my video, did you see, there are all these parties going on, and everybody's dancing, and there's big crowds and everything. Those clips are 3:30 in the morning.
Holy crap.
Like, it's just a big party down there. I mean, they have all kinds of events that you can go to, and gaming stuff, and things like that, but, I mean, it was basically just people dressing up in costume, a whole bunch of nerds, and just partying, So it was a lot better than I expected.
Fantastic. Next year, definitely, you and I are going to hit up that place and meet you there, for sure.
Yeah. You texted me when I was down there, and I was like, oh, man, you would love it down here. So many, and most of the stuff is about, like, comics and cartoons.
Yeah. Well, October's coming up. I got the New York Comic Con coming up, so I'll enjoy that one at least.
And then the last thing for down there, I got to, George Takei had a panel, and he was hilarious.
All right, so this is Mr. Sulu from the original 60s Star Trek.
Yeah.
Who has come out as a homosexual within recent years.
Yeah, and I didn't realize he's one of the biggest gay rights activists anywhere. I mean, his Facebook's blown up. He has like 4.5 million Facebook likes. Yep. And I mean, he did a really good presentation. He came out basically saying, I'm pretty beat from the weekend, so I might be speaking gibberish, but he was a lot more intelligent than I was expecting, and I mean, he did a really good job. He brought up a story. Him and his family were in an internment camp, a Japanese American internment camp, right after Pearl Harbor.
Oh, so they must have been living in California at the time.
Yeah, everyone from the West Coast got moved to an internment camp.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and that came up because there was an Asian American band that went up and asked him a question, because he's one of the biggest Asian American stars. He's huge.
Wow, that is huge. Holy cow. I didn't know that about that.
Yeah, I didn't know it either. A lot of people don't know about it, but it was really cool just being able to see that. And you can look up George Takei DragonCon 2013 and see a couple of the clips. And he was talking to one of the funniest things. Do you ever listen to Howard Stern?
Sure, of course.
So he was a guest on Howard Stern, and apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger was supposed to pass a bill when he became governor, and he was getting elected, and he said he was going to pass this bill for gay rights and stuff. So George Takei is out there, and Schwarzenegger never passed the bill. So Howard Stern told George Takei that he could be on the show and confront Arnold Schwarzenegger about it. So he goes on, and they're recording. You can look it up on YouTube, and they do this interview, and George Takei's kind of going off on him. He's pretty serious. So they're going through the whole thing, and at the end, Howard Stern tells him that it's an impersonator. It's not even the real Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh no!
So he's going off, and then Howard Stern tells him again that he can come back on and he'll get the real Arnold Schwarzenegger. So he goes through a whole nother interview, and it's the impersonator again.
Again?
Yeah, but it was really funny just being able to see him present and stuff, and
it's classic Howard Stern.
Though. Oh yeah,
totally does. That's shtick. I remember when I was a kid, they didn't say Takei, they said Takei, and that was what they said for years. And then when he came out, I think he corrected everybody and said it's Takei. I guess that's the way they pronounce it in Japan. And now there's like the whole running joke of Takei. And he's been on lots of TV shows recently. He was on The Big Bang Theory. He's a pretty interesting celebrity. And I think he will be at the New York Comic-Con. And so will, I know for a fact, William Shatner will be too. And I think there's like a love-hate relationship between them.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting.
I actually missed the Shatner was down at DragonCon too, and we didn't expect lines to be that long. So we didn't get into that.
The Trekkies are crazy. Trekkies? Oh, man.
But, yeah, I don't know. They had all kinds of really cool stuff down there. They had things about podcasting. I went to a couple of those, just panels. The guy from howstuffworks.com, he was there. And
ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
show.
just giving tips on podcasts. They have things for gaming, MMOs, anime, cartoons. They really had a lot of events. I was pretty pleased with how the convention went.
Nice. Excellent. I'm telling you, next year, by hook or by crook, I'm going down there with you.
Yeah, that's it. And we'll plan this somewhat early because I'm pretty sure my friends are going to want to go down again.
Awesome. Cool. Also, just to let you know, I mentioned this to you earlier. I am moving. I'm packing the family, and we're heading out. We're going to still stay in the tri-state area in the Northeast, but we're moving out of New York to bigger digs. And I'm looking forward to having a really big basement to finally sit down and make my videos and do my MAMECADE stuff and all that other stuff. I'll have ample room, and I can't wait.
Yeah, you're going to have a big studio over there now.
Oh, it's exactly what it's going to be. In fact, every morning when I wake up, I open the back doors, and there's like a whole, it's not a flock, it's a herd of deer. Like deer are on my backyard every morning. It's such a weird thing, coming from Brooklyn to see deer, and at night it gets pitch black.
Oh, yeah. You're probably not used to that. Your kids are going to love that.
I see stars. Like, I've never seen a star, except for the New York Planetarium. It's crazy. You look up, you see stars. So it's going to be a big move, a little bit of an adjustment, and the kids are going to have to register for school, but I'm excited. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, the official move will be all done and I'll be relocated.
Yeah, that's good because you've been moving some stuff over this past week even, right?
Yeah, I've got a nice big Chevrolet Traverse, and I just load up all kinds of boxes every morning. And I drive out there, dump them off, do some fixing, Not that there's a lot of fixing. It's pretty much move in, but just to add personal touches, and then come back and do it all over again. So we've been doing that, and the big stuff that I can't bring, we'll finally call the moving truck and move it over.
Yeah, moving's the worst, but once you're done, it's going to be really nice.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what to do with these pinball machines, though.
Oh,
they're big.
Yeah, that's true. Now, are you going to have space for them at your new place? Like,
all right. The fact of the matter is, technically, I could have space for them, but I kind of need the money. So I think some of them are going to be going on eBay.
Give me a percentage of keep to sell ratio. You have one yet?
50%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it happens to every collector at some point in his life. He does like a huge axe and cuts. Yeah, like 50%. I mean, I've already picked out what's staying.
So what are some of the top ones that are definitely staying?
Okay, definitely staying. Medieval Madness, definitely staying. Theater of Magic, definitely staying. Cactus Canyon, only because it's a really, really rare game, staying. Obviously, my Dragon's Lair arcade game is staying. My Spy Hunter is staying. My main machine will go. That's a custom machine that I made. Then the other pins, my wife wants to keep the Lord of the Rings. It's not one of the greatest games, but she wants it. She likes it, so I'll keep it. The other ones, they make a lot of money if I sell them. Like Circus Voltaire will fetch me like $7,000 for that one game. Yeah. Adam's Family will be like 4 grand. I want to keep Indiana Jones, but I'll probably sell Twilight Zone, which would probably be about $3,000. So, it's sad, but I need the cash. It's going to help with, buying stuff for the kids and furniture. And, I bought most of these before I was married. And, when you're a single man, you're a bachelor, this is what you do. And then when you're married and you have kids, Dinky, it's coming up eventually for you. You gotta prioritize what's important, and your hobbies get kind of shelved. So that's what's gonna happen to me. Hopefully, I'll get to video them before they actually go. And that'll be, I've been holding off on making videos of them because once I made a video of them, my wife has said you gotta sell them. So
you should at least do a tour of the garage before you move them all.
You think so? Yeah, that's a good idea.
Definitely.
That's a good idea.
Because that's one of those things where down the road, you'll have fun looking back at that too,
Well, how do I prevent myself from crying during the tour?
You could cry. Well, I give you permission.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good idea. So maybe I'll do a tour video and then individually sell. In fact, the video that I make of the video game might be good to put on to sell it. I have a link going to it. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
For potential buyers, they can see every single thing that's on that game.
Yeah, they'll know you're not a scammer either trying to shovel off poor... they'll know you keep your stuff in good shape.
Exactly.
And you'll still, even after you get rid of half, you'll still have more than everybody else out there.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, there's a lot of money tied up in these pinball machines, I gotta tell you. So it'll help.
Yeah, but another thing. I mentioned that we went to this, these game stores on the trip back from Dragon Con.
Yeah.
And I just, by impulse... There was one game there. I don't know why I did it. I picked it up off the shelf. It was a Sega Genesis game. And I smelled it. And I thought back. I was like, I just told him I never smell any games. But I picked it up.
Oh, so you smelled it instinctually, not because we mentioned it in the last month's podcast?
Yeah. No, I just caught a little hint of smoke. And I smelled it. I was like, I didn't buy it because it smelled too much like smoke. And I was like... Damn it, John. Because I just told you, last episode that I don't smell any of this stuff. But
See?
Yep, and then I was like, oh, there it is.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I thought that was funny. I figured I'd mention that to you.
Fantastic. Cool. All right.
So, you want to move in? We got a bunch of questions this time, so...
Yeah, let's move into the questions and see what we've got here.
All right, yeah, to start this out, first I'd like to just... mention a few people. The first one is Yokorama Game Talks, and I've known him for a long time. He used to put up gaming and anime videos, and he's been mentioning us a lot on Twitter. Every time we put up new episodes, he tells his friends on Twitter and Facebook to go out and check us out and everything, and he left us a question for this episode, so we'll get into that in a minute. And then I've been getting people signing up on my site. I mentioned that last month was the first time I ever told people about it, and just past 20,000 games. So since the last episode, we got 10,000 games added into the collection manager, and getting a lot of real positive feedback. But the one person, Michael Panther, we asked his question last episode about the cartoons, our favorite cartoons that we would make into games. He put his collection up. I mean, there are a lot of people that are putting up collections. His is actually bigger than my collection. And there are a bunch of other ones on there that are worth just as much or even a little bit more than my collection. So it's really cool talking to all the people, and a lot of them listen to the podcast. So that's where they went over and found the site out about. Yeah, Neo, his name on there is Neo Kenjiro. He has so many games. And then the third person is, I was using the site a little bit and talked to Gary Voigt on Facebook and just worked out a trade. He was my last video. I got a trade from him. He sent me almost a pristine copy of Crystalis on the NES, which is an action RPG game I've been wanting to play for a while. And then he also traded Masters of the Universe He-Man for Intellivision. And it's in great shape too, so really cool to get those two games. And just as a bonus, he threw in, I don't know if you remember them, those old How to Win It Nintendo games books.
Yes.
And I didn't know he was going to put them in there. He just threw them in as a bonus, and I opened it up on my video, and I couldn't believe they were in there. I used to love those things because back when I was playing the Nintendo games, there was no internet. So if I wanted to figure out how to find all those old Nintendo game secrets, those are the books that I had to use. So I'm sure a lot of our listeners remember them. But really cool that he threw them in there. Just wanted to mention them on the podcast here.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice of him to do that.
So I guess we'll go into the questions. The first one was from Yokorama Game Talks. He asked on Twitter. He says, "Are you guys looking forward to the Zelda Wind Waker HD, which just came out?"
Right.
So I'll let you go first on that one.
Okay. Personally, I feel Nintendo is doing this only to prop up their sales for the Wii U, because the Wii U hasn't taken off quite as much as they hoped. Obviously, the Zelda title is a big title that everybody has near and dear to their heart. And I think they're just doing this to kind of keep it going until the new consoles come out, to keep it in the news. I don't see the necessity to actually make a remake of this game. The original was quite fine. There's not a whole lot of differences between this and the original, except the way you control the characters because of the Wii U concept. So I'm not really looking forward to it, only because I don't think it's necessary. I think the retro kind of did it just right. Let's see something new. How about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. I mean, everybody knows Zelda's my favorite series of all time, basically. So I love all the Zelda games. I really enjoyed Wind Waker. I didn't like it as much as the games before it, but still, even with this HD, I just am not really all that excited about it. Mainly because, like you said, the gap from GameCube to the Wii U, I mean, it's not as huge to me. If it was something from N64 or before, getting into HD, that's something that I'd be really excited for. But I don't know, the Wind Waker HD, not too excited about it. I'll end up picking up later, but not currently. And the one thing that does make me mad is Nintendo always comes out with these new console releases that are the Zelda ones and stuff, and I don't know, that really bugs me, that because I buy them day one, and then they come out with cool Zelda consoles, and I wish I would have waited. But
yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, not too excited about the Wind Waker HD, even though I love the game. So
we got 2 thumbs down on the Wind Waker.
Yep.
Okay. I bet you that's not what Yokorama was expecting to hear from us.
No, especially since, I mean, I love Zelda games.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah, I don't know. There are just so many games that I should be buying, and I don't know, to drop it on that, I don't think it's as big a difference in quality for me to drop the full price on,
Right.
I did ask with the I do have the pre-order already in place for the Link Between Worlds on the 3DS. I cannot wait for that game. Like, that's something that I'm looking forward to, almost like it's actually a sequel, but like an HD version of the Super Nintendo version. I can't wait for that. And I was hoping, I went up to GameStop a couple times, and I keep asking them if they're doing any promotional stuff for it, but it sounds like it's just going to be the game. Yeah, I guess we'll go into the next question. This one's from Metal King 79. He says, if you were able to purchase and bring back a video game company that no longer exists, what would it be? And which IPs or games would you want to release? So I knew my answer right off the bat, and it's Squaresoft. I mean, hands down, they switched over to Square Enix, and I mean, no company has put out RPGs like they did. I mean, for specific games, just the Final Fantasies were so good then. Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, all the RPGs that Squaresoft put out. I mean, I don't think RPGs will ever get back to what they were with Squaresoft. So, hands down, that would be my company.
That's a good one. I totally forgot about Squaresoft closing the doors recently. So I went even further back to Acclaim Entertainment. If you remember Acclaim, they had a lot of games for PCs and Super Nintendo and Nintendo. Let me see, I have it listed here. Some of the games that you might remember. They did all the All-Star Baseball games, if you remember that.
Yep.
Let's see, they had the Batman Robin, Batman Forever, They did Burnout, Dave Mera Freestyle. They had a great library of games. Mortal Kombat, they got the license for
Yeah, I
that.
remember that.
NBA Jam for the Game Boy and
I love the
N64.
NBA Jam. That game was great.
They had The Simpsons. Oh, they did Turok. Turok was one of their biggest licenses.
Yeah, that was really big back on the N64.
That was huge. And then all the WWF games, all the wrestling games they had. So they were a huge company. And in fact, this was one of the first companies that I ever bought stock in. Back in the day, I just started, tinkering with buying stocks. And, you buy what you love. I bought Marvel, which was in bankruptcy. I bought Acclaim, which was in bankruptcy. And Acclaim burned me. And I sold my Marvel, and I wish I never did, because obviously we all know what happened to Marvel. They went on to become a mega. Yeah, exactly. So eventually when Acclaim went bankrupt, they had offices in Long Island, New York. And they were advertising, come buy our furniture. I was going to buy office furniture from the Acclaim offices just to have a piece of a video game company. But I never went out to buy it, but it was a sad day to hear Acclaim went, because it was a really good company for a lot of good games. I mean, I think James Rolfe made fun of Acclaim for a couple of games. I know he really dissed LJN, but it was a pretty good company. They put out some interesting games, and it had a long history.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I remember a lot of them. They were fun. Next up, we got Clint Yargar. I guess that's how you say his last name. What is your most anticipated or favorite new release for a retro console with the homebrew scene blowing up? Pierce Solar from Watermelon has prompted this question. As the game itself looks sweet, just curious on your thoughts. So you can take this one first.
Did you take a look at the Pierce Solar video?
Yeah.
I did too, and it does look awesome. What's freaking me out about Pierce Solar is the people behind it. There's one guy, the art director. He's got this long hair and this big handlebar mustache. He looks like a Doug Henning on crack. He's really freaky looking. But what I'm excited about is, I think you agree with me, my number 9.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not quite Mega Man, but it's Mega Man. Yeah, everybody knows.
They switched the title over to Mighty Number 9, and then the characters, the artwork looks really cool. They're on their Kickstarter. They're posting all kinds of artwork, and it looks so similar, and you can tell they're going to be keeping it similar and keeping the same style. Yeah. It just new.
They made a lot of money on their Kickstarter. This is all dependent on Kickstarter. If Kickstarter didn't work out, it would have failed. And they made it in spades. Now they're have extra money to do it on other consoles that they didn't expect to do it on. So this is great.
Oh yeah, they're way above their goal, and they just reached the limit where I think it was 2.2 million, and now it's going to come out for console releases. So I'm pretty excited about that. I put in money for I was thinking about just doing the digital download, but you know me as a collector, I had to upgrade to the physical copy. So I'm pretty happy to get that. And it's not. I don't even think it's done until October 1st, and they already doubled their goal.
Yeah, this is fantastic. This is good news for gamers that are not gamers, but game developers that rely on crowdfunding. This will be a great example of how it can be successful. It's fantastic.
Especially for a series like Mega Man. It's one of the most iconic characters, in gaming, and essentially it was going to be gone. They had the Mega Man 9 and 10, and then they were supposed to have the last game come out, and we all know what happened with that. So
yeah, right.
Just to see it coming back out, it's under a new name, but we know it's going to be similar. So that's why it got all the support that it did.
See, that's the whole point. They're really skirting just under the radar of infringing on the Mega Man title. We all know, everybody knows it's a Mega Man game. It's by the same creators that worked at Capcom, but it's not the Mega Man title by name. It's not the Mega Man exactly the characters, but they look similar. If you couldn't get any closer to it without having a legal problem.
Yeah, and to get the new graphics, I don't even know. I love Mega Man so much. Just to see a new graphic one in the same old gameplay style. Oh, yeah. I just cannot wait. It's going to be so cool. And there's a lot of cool, another thing about that is there's a lot of cool fan art coming out, like fan support. The one guy, MachineGamesTX on my website, I didn't even know that he does a bunch of like audio remixes and stuff, and I never knew he did any music. And he put together a really cool Mighty Number 9 remix and just messaged them on Twitter, and the song's really good. I mean, he did a great job. That's one of the fan things coming up. I'm seeing a lot of people doing cool character fan art in the developers. I mean, they're looking at this stuff. They're replying to him on Twitter, and it's really cool to see that kind of feedback.
As far as consoles go, I think Mega Man has got to be in one of like the top, would you say top 5 recognizable and loved characters in consoles?
Oh yeah, I would say so. I
Yeah.
mean, it definitely top 10. I mean,
Well, yeah, without a doubt,
yeah,
top
maybe some
10.
of the younger people don't know as much about it, but anybody over like 25 knows. You know, if you buy a Mega Man game, you're gonna like. It doesn't matter which one you get, you're gonna like almost all of them. You know.
Yep.
So, and that one's kind of opposite, I guess, of his question because he asked for new releases on old consoles. But I was gonna say the one that I really it already came out. And I got it out at the Classic Gaming Expo. Was the Halo 2600.
For the Atari
Yeah,
2600.
for the Atari 2600, and I just
A
love
4-bit system doing Halo. That's awesome.
And I mean, I just loved Halo, and I saw it out there, and Gamester was out there too, and I got that. And I was actually just looking up this week. They released a newer version where I could get the box and the manual. I'd have to buy the whole game again though, so I don't know if there's a way for me to just buy the box, but I'm probably gonna try and get that somehow.
Nice.
So
Nice. I heard about the Halo 2600 and I saw Gamester's video on it. And, I really would love to have one of those, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on it,
yeah,
though.
and mine's nice too because mine was the original print.
You got the first run.
Yeah, there aren't many of, and they're selling for a good bit. Some people are tossing them on eBay trying to be jerks and like raise up the price, but I mean,
Yeah.
legitimately, I'm really glad that I got the original version of it.
Yeah, see, I'm not a real collector. You are, so I'm glad you got the original. If I had the second, third, fourth run, I don't care. As long as it's a playable
Yeah.
game, that would be awesome for me. I'd be happy with that.
Yep. So how about you? What any other cool ones?
Yeah, here's something. Here's an update. About a year and a half ago, almost 2 years maybe, I did an interview with David Shroeder, who was the creator of a Commodore 64 game called Dino Eggs, which was one of my favorite Commodore. It still is favorite Commodore 64 game. And I did this interview. It was a 2-part interview, and I told David during the interview, you really should consider making this for a modern game system. And he took it to heart, and he looked into it, and he found a programmer. And now I'm happy to announce that he has Dino Eggs Rebirth coming out for all the major systems on Xbox, and he's working on some handheld consoles. He has a video on YouTube if you looked up Dino Eggs Rebirth. I think you'd be impressed if you enjoyed the original Dino Eggs. If you're as old as I am and enjoyed that game in the 80s, you'll really enjoy this one. So I'm happy for him, and I hope him much success with this. He's been hawking it at all the consoles and indie game places, so I hope he has much success. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's real cool, especially since you mentioned it to him that you really liked it. You know.
Yeah, I know. In a small way, I feel like I kind of spurred him on to something because he had no. Because I contacted him, and every once in a while he told me somebody would contact him to say, "Hey, I enjoyed your game." So I said, I want to do an interview on your game. And during the interview, I said, you really should consider it. There's a lot of Commodore 64 games that are being put out for like the iOS. And he said, yeah. And he found a fan who was a programmer who kind of did an unofficial clone of it. And they got together, and I guess they may have formed a little corporation.
Yeah.
And now they have this actual game coming out. So hurrah for me.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, if you didn't mention that to him, that just sparked the idea, and he may never have really pursued it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's a little presumptuous of me, but I did mention it, so in a small way, yeah, maybe, okay. So yeah, I still speak to him. So he's a very cool guy. He's very approachable. So that'll be coming out, I think, the end of this year. And then, of course, there's Shroud of the Avatar, which we've spoken about before, which is basically the successor to Ultima 4.
Oh yeah.
That'll be coming out next year too.
Yeah, now I have a question on the Dino eggs, because was that a disc game or a cartridge game? I'm assuming a disc, probably.
Yeah, it was a disc game. I think it was originally programmed on the Apple II, and then it was also ported onto the Commodore 64. But it was, the 5.5-inch floppy. You've seen these great big floppy disks that would go into these honking
Yeah, that's
huge
what I just
disc
got. That's
drives.
what that Mega Man is.
Yeah.
Mega Man on a floppy disk. I couldn't believe it. But I can't find this game. I just looked it up on eBay, and like I can't find it anywhere. So because I've never heard of it.
Well, you can't find the Dino Eggs game, you mean?
No.
Well, you know why, right?
So if you see a copy,
Well, yeah, but back in those days, everybody was copying those games and pirating them. There's like no reason to have the original.
oh, I know.
They were very piratable back then.
Yeah, a lot of those
mean,
Commodore 64 games don't go for too much, but I wonder if that one's valuable, because I mean, normally there would be.
That's a good question. If you could find a box Dino Eggs, I wonder what that would go for.
I can't even find any. You can almost always find a disc version. Yeah, I don't see any on there.
It was such a cool concept too. It was like you went back in time and you infected the dinosaurs with the common measles. So to save them, you bring back their eggs to the future to save them from extinction. And it was a really fun it was a platform game. It was really fun.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's a good one. Nice. All right, yeah, we'll go on to the next question. This is from Greg Taylor. These last couple have been on Facebook. He says, "What was your favorite year of gaming? Mine was 1996 with the launch of Nintendo 64, which was my first home console." And the first home console is always awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, just being able to get games. It doesn't even matter what console you got. When you got a game that you could be playing at home, I mean, it was just great. But yeah, what would yours be?
You see, I felt the opposite. Once I was playing games at home that were rivaling the arcades, I knew it was the death of the arcade. I knew it. Once I saw Mortal Kombat at home, I said, forget it. The arcades are going to die. And they sure did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. But my favorite year, and again, I'm showing my age, was 1983. 1983 was right before the great video game crash of 84. And that crash was created because there were so many Atari games that were being made by every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there. They were really shoddy, but there was so much that you can play. It was totally saturated with all those Atari 2600 games. Arcades were, at the very peak before their crash. There were fantastic games like Elevator Action, Gyrus, Mappy, Mr. Do's Castle. All the Laserdisc games came out pretty much in 83, like Dragon's Lair and Cliffhanger. So that was my primo year. And then, of course, obviously, later on, the consoles came out. But as for me, because of my age, 83 was the pinnacle of the game crash.
Yeah, I was 1 year old.
You were 1 in 83?
Yep.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So... yeah, see, I'm sure, I mean, that would stink, because at that point, you could see what was going to be, it's a shame that it had the crash and everything, but, I mean, before that, it was completely different,
Yeah.
So, I can't even imagine, being around to kind of be witnessing that happen. It would kind of suck.
Yeah, but you see, when you talk about the consoles, there's always like 5, 6, 7 years before the next console comes out. Back then, 1979, maybe arcades started to kick in, and then by 83, that was the height, and then they crashed. So it wasn't even much. It wasn't even 5 years.
Yeah.
It was all condensed. Pac-Man came out in 1980. That was like insanity in 1980. I wish you could have been there to see the insanity that was going on. It was Pac-Man everything.
Yeah.
Pac-Man everything. It was on the cover of Time magazine. It was like, I can't even believe, that this was a phenomenon at the time. It's just video games. But back then, it was the newest and greatest craze in the world.
See, and I like that because one of the things that kind of gave me a little bit of an idea of that is watching that King of Kong movie.
Okay.
Because they show all that stuff where, I mean, people were really getting into it, being on the magazines, and they have these huge competitions in the arcades. And, I mean, there aren't really... I mean, you have your competitions today, but those were crazy back then. I mean, the arcade games from back then are just a
Yeah.
completely different test of skill than games today.
Yeah. I have a neighbor next door to me. He's like 16 years old, and sometimes I talk to him. He asks me about things. And when I talk to him about, arcades, he has no way to conceptualize it. There's no reference. He has no idea what I'm talking about. He just thinks I'm a crazy old man. He really has no idea.
Yeah, because, I
So,
mean, honestly, when did most of the... I mean, the arcades were leaving, I don't know, what, maybe 10, 15 years ago?
oh yeah, they've been long gone, dude. What you stumbled upon in Ohio is just a rarity. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I knew you were gonna love it, and I walked in there, and the people were telling me, they're like, check this place out, and I said, all right, let's stop up there, because I mean, on a road trip, you don't want to be taking a long time and making your trip take 12 hours.
Oh, right.
So we walk in there, and anybody who is a big fan of arcades, check out the second half of my last video, or 2 videos ago, I think it was, a couple ago, and it's I think it's titled Game Hunting Louisville to Cincinnati. And I mean, honestly, this is not only because their game selection was awesome for a store, but just to have all those old arcade games. They had Mortal Kombats, all the old beat 'em ups. I mean, they had everything. They had some pinball machines. It was just to walk into that and hear all those sounds again. It's like, I mean, something you can't really find anymore.
Yeah, I know, it's sad. The arcade sound, the allure of walking in and hearing all those beeps and songs and music, bringing you to each game, trying to pull you from one side of the aisle to the other. That's something that is going to be gone. I mean, talk to any old timer, about anything, about radio, about TV in the past. It's the same thing. It's a gone era.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, now mine's gonna kind of pale in comparison, I suppose. But
Yeah, well, I mentioned that eventually there'll be holographic games, and you'll be talking to your son or your grandson saying, there was a time when we had these little boxes that we would connect to our TVs, and they would look at you like, you're insane,
when we
Grandpa.
would use controllers and actually...
Controllers? You mean you didn't use your mind? What's wrong with you, Grandpa?
Oh, man. Yeah, I could see that. What was that book recently had that? Ready Player One, it'll be like that. You just hop in a suit and you're out in the virtual world.
Yep, that's right.
But the year I chose was 1987. And, I mean, back then I was real young, but it's mainly for the games that came out then. I probably played them a year or two later. But 1987 is like when a lot of my favorite series of all time came out, in like Zelda, Castlevania, Mega Man, Kid Icarus, Metroid, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was that year, and Contra came out in the arcade. Came out a year later on Nintendo. So that year for me, I mean, those are the games, they're my favorite games of all time. And for them to all come out in one year, I mean, looking back on it, that year was just the best games for me coming out.
Yeah, it's a good year.
So that would be my answer. Some of those came out in Japan and stuff. There were more that came out in Japan and came out over here like 2 years later. But I love those games, all those old Nintendo ones, because I played the Atari first, but it was when I was younger, So those are the ones that I remember the most.
So in '87, how old were you then?
I was 5 years old.
You were 5 years
and
old.
it was funny too, because I was asking my parents, and I was like, when did I start playing games? And they said probably like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old, I guess. And my mom came home with an Atari 400 maybe, or an 800, I forget. She got them on some sale and bought a couple of them. But I went back, and she was digging through my brother and sister just had kids, so they were going through some of all their old things from when we were young. And I had this big timeline that I drew out in school, and I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. And I'm actually marked down as one of my life events. Got my first Nintendo. And it was when I was 4 years old, and it was like marked off. It was like that and like other major events in my life. So back then I thought that was even back then I thought that was awesome.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I know that I was 4 years old when I got my Nintendo.
Wow. In 1987 I was 17. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
That's nuts.
Okay, what else? Move along. Come on, I'm feeling old.
Another question came from Faisal HT, and his YouTube name is Team Excalibur. And I've been talking to him for a while. He writes me on Facebook a lot and things like that. And he always posts, he says him and his son have been listening to our podcast and they really enjoy it. And his question is, did you guys hear about the Retron 5? He says, this is a beast, or this beast is a 5-in-1 machine. I really believe you guys should check it out. And I'll go first. I remember in one of our earlier podcasts, I forget what episode, I was talking about the Retro Duo, which I have. And if people don't know about these, the Retro Duo that I have it can play Nintendo and Super Nintendo games all in one console, and it uses Super Nintendo controller ports. And, I really like it. It's nice to have both consoles in one. It usually costs about $40 to $50. In this new upgraded one, I've thought about buying the Retron 3, which has the Genesis added in there. And I heard about the Retron 5, and I'm actually really excited about it. This one's going to have the Nintendo. This is all going to be on one console, and it has a whole bunch of slots on the top. I don't know if you saw a picture of it. Mm-hmm. But it has the Nintendo slot on the top. The next slot is for Super Nintendo and Super Famicom games. You can also play Genesis and Mega Drive games, and then another slot for Famicom, and the last slot is going to be for Game Boy, regular, Advance, and Color games. So,
nice.
I mean, I did notice some issues with the Retro Duo. The sound is not nearly as good for the Nintendo games, but the Super Nintendo audio sounds perfectly fine. So, I mean, I'm hoping that they kind of fix that on this one. That's the only drawback that I would have, but I'll probably buy this right when I can, because I've been holding off on that Retron 3 for a long time, because I was hoping that this one would come out, so I'm pretty excited about it.
You just kind of knew this was just the next step. It was coming eventually, right?
Yeah, and I mean, for me, going from the Retro Duo to the Retron 3, it's only one, just Genesis, and obviously,
right. Just Genesis.
Yeah, I own a Sega.
It's huge.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean, though, but I own all these consoles, I don't really... Yeah. I mean, I like these for convenience, so I don't have to have 8 consoles set up all at once. So for me to spend $50, $60 just to play Genesis games isn't as big a deal for me. I mean, people who don't have these consoles, that's a great deal. Just being able to play all those games for $50 is probably what it's going to come out at. I mean, that's crazy. That's a really good thing coming out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. This is something that I would definitely pick up. I haven't done the Retron 3, probably just because I'm just lazy. But now that there's a Retron 5 that plays all these systems, there's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't get this. Again, for the convenience of having it, just so I don't have to unplug and drag out the old system, put in a new system. I can't have 5, 6 systems all at the ready to play any game. Maybe I will at the new house, but right now I certainly don't. So yeah, this sounds great. I think they're taking pre-orders, right?
Probably. I probably won't pre-order it. I don't know. Maybe I will. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It kind of stinks having 4 different consoles set up at all times if you don't need to. So.
I don't mind the consoles. I mind the wires and the cables in the back.
Having to switch them out, yeah.
Yeah, that's a real... If they, instead of having a Retron 5, if they can have just a plug central 5 where you can just switch which one is going to, I'd buy that in a heartbeat. But so we were talking about these notes, I was like, oh yeah, now I'm waiting for a Betamax, VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray combo player.
Yeah, I wonder what would you even use any of those for? Although I do see Laserdiscs out sometimes, but I've never owned a Laserdisc player. I would pick one up just to goof around with it.
Yeah, I've got a couple of Laserdiscs.
They're massive.
They're huge. They're like a regular, what is it, the old-fashioned 33, was it 33 records?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're so big.
I've got a couple. Actually, the Laserdisc that Dragon's Lair is on is one of those big honking ones. All those Laserdisc games were on big, huge Laserdiscs, and I have a couple of movies just because I had the player. I had a spare player in case my Laserdisc machine broke down with the Dragon's Lair. I had to swap it
Yeah, I
out.
remember you
So I
saying
bought
that.
some
Now,
players.
do you have a nice case for the Dragon's Lair one?
Do I have a nice
Like the
case?
yeah, like around whatever the disc came in.
Yeah, oh no, it's well actually I have more than one Laserdisc for Dragon's Lair. I have a couple of original ones that over time they would degrade. You know, they were made for just lasting a few years. The technology at the time wasn't so great. Eventually they die. The glue that would hold the two pieces of plastic would corrode it. So they had a repressing of it, and the repressing was more of a modern uh, technology, kind of like a CD. That one's fine. That'll last forever. So I have a couple of the repressings, and it comes in a nice case, but generally speaking, the old original ones, they didn't come in any kind of fancy case because they came in the machine itself. It
Oh yeah.
wasn't a separate thing.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I mean, like putting records up and stuff. You know, some of those they're huge displays. Like if you want to put stuff, you know, on shelves or on the wall, they look really nice. So I
Yeah.
figured maybe the Dragon's Lair
No.
ones would for Laserdisc. You know.
Unfortunately, no, they didn't make a nice fancy Laserdisc sleeve for it. I mean, they come in a sleeve, but it wasn't fancy. I mean, I have The Secret of Nim, which was a cartoon movie that comes in a nice collector's kind of issue case, which you can't get that anywhere else. But that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that's all the questions. If anyone wants to ask any questions for future episodes, just go to our Hit Reset Radio mostly on Facebook. I mean, a lot of these come in on Facebook and Twitter, basically about maybe a week or 5 days before the podcast. I just post a message a lot of the time and say, we're going to be recording fairly soon. Do any of you have questions? That makes the podcast a lot more fun, being able to actually answer stuff that we know people listening want to hear, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess next we can go on to news. Something real small. It's nothing too major, but if anyone hasn't played Eco, it was a PS2 game. It's now free on PlayStation Network if you have PlayStation Plus. So if anybody hasn't played that game and has PlayStation Plus, definitely download it. It's one of my favorite PS2 games, and if you can get it for free, it's usually $20, and they're going to be having it free for at least a while. So hop on there and try and download that.
Well, Eco was a huge hit when it first came out.
Well, actually, I think it was more of it's one of those games where right when it came out, I don't think it was all that huge. And then afterward, people started finding out about it, and it became one of those, like, cult classic type of games on the PS2. And once Shadow of the Colossus came out, it really brought a lot of attention to Eco. Because everyone
Right.
played Shadow of the Colossus because it was more action-oriented and all that stuff. And then people kind of thought, oh, well, there's a game before this. I got to go back and play that, which is actually what I did. I played Shadow of the Colossus first, loved it so much that I went back and played Eco. I personally still like Shadow of the Colossus more because it's more action and, you know, you're climbing up on all these colossi. But Eco is more of a game where you go through and you have this girl that you help escape, and you're trying to escape this big castle. You go through and you have to kind of solve puzzles, push blocks around and everything, and you kind of just drag her through the castle. And what's really cool is if she gets, basically what happens is you won't see any villains really during the entire game unless you let her get far away from you. So you're playing through the game, and the main thing is you have to stick with her because she's pretty helpless. And in order to get through the game, you have to keep her right with you. And it's kind of a cool relationship that it builds between the two characters. And don't want to give anything away, but go get it for free.
Well, it's an old game. It's been out for a while. I think most people remember it, but yeah, it's a great game. Definitely pick it
Yep.
up.
So
Nice.
figured I'd mention
Nice.
that.
So let's talk about also current events. Recently, last Monday, we had a terrible shooting in Washington. We all know about that. And of course, all the politicians are coming out claiming video games have something to do with it. Supposedly, this maniac used to play Call of Duty for 18 hours a day. I have no idea if that's true or not, but they're trying to pin violent video games on, you know, mass shootings and the possibility of somehow there's a connection. What do you think about that, Dink?
I swear, every time stuff happens, they always come to games. And they always
Yeah.
say, oh, this is because of games and all this stuff. And I mean, it is a serious issue. You know, it's not something that I brush off or say, you know, this isn't important, because honestly, I mean, things like games and movies, I mean, that stuff affects younger people, and you know, you don't always know what effects they have. But I mean, honestly, to me, I don't. I mean, I would blame games just as much as I would blame movies or TV shows. I mean, there's violence in all of those things, and you can't really blame the game for what these people who are, you know, I mean, they're obviously not correct in the head, and they're trying to blame it on games, and I just don't think that's really an accurate accusation. You know, they do it all the time, and it's always been an issue. You know, back even with Mortal Kombat and what was the one, Night Trap. You know, they always thought that these games were messing with all these people, and then you go before that, they thought heavy metal was messing with all these people, and that's what causes all this stuff. And they just, you know, they jump from one thing to the next, and violent games are what they're on right now.
Yeah, it's just a strange phenomenon going on now. Like, first they used to equate, well, if you watch a movie or you read a book, there's all kinds of violence. You know, you can't blame those. Not that I'm saying there is a connection, but obviously video games, you're not just watching, you are participating, especially in a game like Call of Duty or like Grand Theft Auto 5 or any of the other ones. You're actually putting yourself in that world. Now, as for does that spur violence in people? Personally, my opinion is I don't think it spurs it in people. I think certain people have certain bad tendencies, and they're going to come out regardless if they played a game or read a book. There's always a trigger on every single person, just finding the right trigger. From experience, I have fired a rifle. I have fired a handgun. And the last thing that came to my mind was, oh, this is just like Grand Theft Auto. Or, oh, this is just like, you know, any of the war games that are popular. It is absolutely nothing like a video game. Really, nothing like a video game. And when you have a weapon in your hand, it's a deadly weapon. You can't compare the two. It didn't even come to my head that, oh, I can see how people confused the two. Oh, I can see how this feels like, you know, name your video game. Absolutely not. No way in hell does an actual weapon feel or bring memories of a video game you may have played earlier in the day or the week or whatever. Another breaking news today is Grand Theft Auto 5 broke all records. It earned $800 million in just one day.
That's crazy.
And that is more than the latest Superman Man of Steel movie earned worldwide.
For the whole running.
The whole running. This is in one day. Okay, so there, first off, obviously, like just the point you made, there's that many people playing this game, and the incidents, you would think there'd be like a mad hysterical spree across America everywhere, that there'd be like a chaos and anarchy everywhere. That doesn't exist. It doesn't. The fact that it earned this much money, earns more than a Hollywood movie, there's no way you can stop a business that makes that kind of money. That makes a lot of jobs. It produces a lot of revenue. You can't stop something like that. It would be, quote unquote, un-American. You can't stop a successful business from doing what it does. It would be wrong. And the jury is still out if it's a good game or not.
Yeah.
This is just the hype.
The budgets keep going up. I think the Grand Theft Auto 4, I think that made $310 million. And then I forget what Call of Duty made. But I mean, games are getting super popular now. I mean, it was never like that. You know, they're going to be passing up all the, I mean, they already are passing up all the movie.
Yeah, it's bigger than Hollywood. Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's cool to see that things are going into gaming like that, but it also is like, man, what about all these little small companies who are trying to make games and compete with them?
Well, I think the indie games are pretty good. There's a vibrant indie community. It doesn't have to be a multi-million-dollar game to be good.
Yeah, I wish a lot of the games didn't try to compete with that, like RPGs, like Squaresoft I was talking about earlier. Make RPGs not all about those insane graphics and stuff. I hope they start kind of veering off from that a little bit.
Well, look at Angry Birds. Okay, Angry Birds is a physics game. There's nothing much to it. It really isn't. And it's a phenomenon. It's everywhere. And now it's linked up with Star Wars, where there's an Angry Birds Star Wars version. It's bed sheets, candy. There's actually a physical game where you actually pull back on a catapult and shoot blocks. It's insane, and that's nothing. There's nothing to make a game like that.
Yeah, that is crazy, and it costs what, like $1 most of the time?
Yeah, right.
Everybody's played Angry Birds.
I think more people know Angry Birds, the word Angry Birds, or the phrase, rather than Grand Theft Auto, or just about equal, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a good one, because that was just what, today it came out.
Yeah, that's breaking news. Breaking news.
Yeah, so, oh man, I don't know. That's I still can't get over that number. That's so much money.
$800 million.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you look at a movie ticket's what, $10 to $12? Average, let's say $10.
Yeah.
The movie people don't make money on the popcorn and all that other stuff, so it's $10 a person. Whereas a game costs $60, and then if you get like the special edition, it'll cost $70 or $80. So it costs a lot more. You know, for each person, you get more bang for the buck. So they're probably raking in a lot more money because of that. And they're advertising big time. They're putting $100 million in advertising. I see buses with, Grand Theft Auto pasted on the side of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, as we started recording, Tenshinhan on Twitter actually asked us, he said, any thoughts on Grand Theft Auto 5 and its enormous budget, first day profits, etc. So he literally wrote us right after we started recording. So hopefully that answers your question.
That answers your question.
Time to ask it.
Well, that wraps it up. We had a great month of gaming this episode.
Yeah, I really enjoyed all the questions that came in. Had a lot of fun answering them. We're going to be putting this full episode on Hit Reset Radio on YouTube. You can leave more questions there, comments about the podcast, and also on Facebook and Twitter. So thanks you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next month.
Take care, man.
See ya.
Oh, I just put one up. I don't know if you saw that. I put one up recently.
Which one? I saw the review.
It's called Beezer.
Yeah, I saw that one. Oh, yeah, because I was writing you and you didn't catch my sarcasm.
I did. Yeah, I realized it afterwards. By the way, what I read really fast as a commercial, that was the actual pamphlet that they gave arcades to try to get the game in their arcades. Okay, stand by. The rescue. Why throw away that perfectly good cabinet, TV, monitor, and electronics when a game has lost its earning potential? Let Beezer rescue this old game and turn it into a moneymaker. 1 hour to new profits. The conversion to Beezer can be completed by you or your service technician in less than 1 hour. Imagine a top-rated new game for your location in 1/3 the investment amount in only 1 hour. Everything is included. The Beezer kit includes everything you'll need to do to turn your Galaxian into a new strategy game. Beezer, the plexiglass header, full inside front decals, viewing window, coin door give the game a bright new appearance. The complete control panel with trackball, button, and wiring harness only easily replaces Galaxian. And the PCB board is inserted to make Beezer complete. Beezer wins for you. More profits and less cost make Beezer a wise investment. Convert your old Galaxian and get Beezer as a do-it-yourself kit or as a standard upright game. Either way, Beezer will win for you at the price that makes sense.